Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Oh boy. Well, as you mentioned, back in the 60s, I was introduced to yoga. I was living in New York City at the time. I had come of age and participated in everything that was happening in that very volatile and transformative time. And I was introduced to yoga and found myself fascinated by the concept of knowing God, quote unquote, as the saints are considered to have known God in this intimate way. And that actually became my career, if you will. I did what showed up in terms of work, but this was my driving force, really, to reach that state of intimate experience of the Creator. So that's how I lived my life. And blah, 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 blah. We arrive in Montana in the 90s, and I found the climate very harsh and felt like I needed to go someplace warmer, and headed south, not knowing exactly where I would wind up, and I found myself in Sedona. And Sedona, Arizona, for those who are familiar with it or those who aren't, is a very powerful place energetically. And I felt that power when I looked around and knew that I was in for something strong. Next thing I knew, I realized that I was basically living on the street. I didn't have money. And it was a powerful experience. I spent 4 years in Sedona. For 3 of them, I still owned my car, so I would sleep in my car. And I was living this street life. And it was very strong and very profound. And at the time, I felt that I was doing, advanced work.
I understand.
In surrender.
Balancing your karma.
And acceptance and non-judgment and this sort of thing. But once I got to India, which was a little later on, I realized that had been something like middle school.
Okay.
Because what happened in India was even a greater level of let go and trust. So it began
because you were now surrounded in an area where you were surrounded by poverty, and then to move maybe to that point of poverty, that's a whole different experience. Is that kind of what you mean?
Well, no.
It was not about the poverty.
No.
It was just about lifestyle.
It was not just about the lifestyle. It was about the fact that I had been called to India by a master, and he really put me through the ringer. I didn't have while I was in his presence daily, I didn't have any kind of personal,
relationship,
literal communication with him, but he was instructing me telepathically and through my daily experience. If you are aware enough, every encounter can be a teaching experience.
Yes, you're right.
And this is how I was trained through everything that I was experiencing every day. It was very strong. And then, yes, indeed, the fact that I was in this small village, a very poor village, and there were beggars all around me. I felt myself like a beggar, although I was being provided for in another way.
Correct.
I had a room that I lived in, and things were given to me. That
Yes.
was something else, So I had a great deal of empathy for these beggars that I saw daily, and indeed I fed those that I could when I could, and there were certain others that knew that they could come to me if they couldn't get fed anywhere else. At the
Right.
same time, I was often in a position of asking others for help myself.
Right. So when you were in India for about for how long?
Of most of 5 years.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah.
So that is a long time. And did you move different areas, or did you stay with this one specific teacher?
I was with that teacher. I was with that teacher.
And people like that usually don't travel. They pretty much stay in the town where they're at.
Yes.
Yes. Huh. And what made you decide to come home? I know we're coming close to a break, so I don't know how much we get. Did the teacher tell you that you were done, or that this was temporarily you were done?
Well,
Or did you feel the urge to come back to the West?
a little of both.
Or maybe what we should do, we should talk about it when we come back?
We can do that.
All right, folks, you are listening to Gesundheit with Jacobus. I'm your host, Jacobus Hollowijn. Saharadevi is my guest. Today we are talking about her booklet called The Evolution Revolution, the first peaceful revolution in the world, a handbook for personal and global transformation. It's $9.90. It's available in different spots in town. If you have a chance, pick up your copy. You will enjoy reading this. You may not agree with 100%, but who does with any book? There is a lot of depth, a lot of feeling, a lot of inspiration in this book. And I know Sahara, I've known her for a long time. Just enjoy having her on the studio. 522-TALK is the number. We're going to be right back.